Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Dylan here. We have a major bombshell today from Senator John Fetterman that you don't want to miss. He just made a huge move to support President Trump right now and took a big dig at his Democrat colleagues and the Democrat Party. So we're going to dive into all of this, but before we do, we're going to read scripture and pray because God comes first. Amen? Comment amen if you truly do believe that God comes first. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Amen. God has a plan for you. That Bible reading is from Jeremiah 29:11. And my brothers and sisters, congratulations to everyone who has begun investing. Thanks to President Trump, we just hit another new all-time high. It is the best time to get started right now, and we have a totally free offer with the link below. Or if you're watching this on your TV, you can take out your phone and scan this QR code and a link will pop up. It's 100% free to get started, and if you don't know where to start, just download the app and watch the free investing tutorial below. I break it all down for you. All right, take a look at this. Senator John Fetterman just made a bombshell announcement. This comes from Dr. Steve Turley, so let's tune in, my friends.
One of the most powerful Democrats in the United States Senate just said something on live television that has his own party absolutely flipping out. Not a single one of his Democrat colleagues has come to his defense. Not because some didn't want to, but because they can't. Because deep down, John Fetterman isn't just breaking with the Democrat Party. He's watching it collapse in real time, and he knows it. Wait until you see this. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you make sense of what looks to be the most extraordinary political divorce in American politics right now, with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. So you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman continues to make enemies with more and more of his fellow Democrats. The latest antagonizing incident comes from his recent interview with Jesse Waters, when he said this. How big of a threat do you think this communist movement is?
Well, I mean, there's that phrase where terrible or bad ideas refuse to die. And it's very sad to see that kind of things being revisited in this kind of way. And a lot of these, these terrible groups like Code Pink and a lot of the other ones that are strongly aligned to the CCP, without a doubt, they're being financed. I mean, it's ironic. I mean, these kinds of protests are being funded by billionaires against billionaires. I mean, I don't know if they realize the irony in many of those things.
I don't think John Fetterman was supposed to say that. I think his Democrat colleagues are going to be really mad at him for admitting that
right now. And now there is kind of a small communist takeover in Maine. Plattner, he's already announced that he's an avowed communist. He's made that statement and he put that online. Now he's going to be the Democratic nominee. So there is a resurgence about the socialism, and that's becoming more and more part of it. And now there's more. It's like a marriage of the Palestinian, the anti-ICE, the abolish ICE, and now turning it in to like an orgy of socialism here. And that's sad because it's supposed to be about labor, like unions. I'm a proud pro-union Democrat, but the kinds of mess that you see are showing up in many of them. I mean, that is the worst impulses that our party continues. We just seems to can't resist those things.
So you just heard Senator John Fetterman admit that his Democrat Party is being infiltrated with bona fide communists. He warned of a communist takeover in Maine, in particular a reference to Graham Plattner, the Democrat Senate nominee, who has explicitly and publicly claimed to be a communist, as well as having an actual Nazi tattoo on his chest.
Oh.
Fetterman described the May Day protests roiling blue cities as, quote, an orgy of socialism. And he accused Code Pink and similar far-left groups of being strongly aligned with the CCP. And again, in his words, without a doubt, they are being financed by these hostile foreign interests. And here's where it gets fascinating, because Fetterman has been watching this happen because he's watching his party ideologically implode in real time. The more he speaks about it, the more alone he becomes. Take a look at the latest polling among Pennsylvania Democrats.
I mean, just look at this. Among Pennsylvania Democrats, the net approval of Fetterman, back in 2023, he was a Democrat liberal darling. He was at plus 68 points. Look at how low he has fallen down to negative 40 points. He's down there with the Titanic among Democrats in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And, you know, to put a comparison point on, you know, we always talk about how Chuck Schumer is not well liked by the Democratic base nationwide. Chuck Schumer has a net popularity rating of about -2 points. He is 38 points more popular than John Fetterman is with Pennsylvania Democrats. And I was also looking at Kristen Sinema, who, of course, ended up leaving the Democratic Party in Arizona. She was considerably more popular just before she shifted over than John Fetterman is at -40 points.
Yeah.
Do you guys know why John Fetterman is unpopular under Democrats? I always ask a question to my audience. Comment down below.
If you're keeping score, that was a 108-point swing in the negative direction for Fetterman among Pennsylvania Democrats. I mean, there's no way he's going to win a Pennsylvania Democrat primary. He's dead man walking as far as his fellow Dems are concerned. And so, given that, Politico just published a stunning piece on May 4th titled "Inside the Quiet Republican Effort to Flip Fetterman."
You gotta respect Fetterman for actually sticking with his guts and following his beliefs.
It documented a senator who has suffered a massive staff exodus. His former scheduler, if you can believe it, is now his chief of staff. A senator who barely shows up to committee hearings, has skipped the announcement of the largest private investment in Pennsylvania history. A senator who has a cool relationship with his own governor, Josh Shapiro, and barely interacts with his own state's Democratic delegation. A senator who spends most of his time with Republicans, particularly Senators Katie Britt and Dave McCormick, who have, quote, all but adopted Fetterman and his wife, Giselle. He's in the GOP cloakroom. He's in their group texts. He's having dinner with their families. And the Democrat Party's response to all this, they're turning on him like a pack of wolves. Again, his approval among Pennsylvania Democrats has collapsed to just 22%. His former chief of staff has gone public against him. Progressive groups call him a traitor. The left's active base, the same base that's nominating communists in Maine and Islamo-socialists in New York, have made it clear that there is no room for someone like John Fetterman in the Democrat Party of 2026. And as Politico put it, Fetterman's political path only goes in one direction, and not for the reasons you might think. Here's what's really happening here. Fetterman isn't just having a personal political crisis. He is having that for sure. It's not just that. He isn't just running away from the woke mob or pushing back against his party's rabid anti-Semitism and the like. I think John Fetterman is looking at the structural data, the fundamentals, right? Not the polls per se, but the operative structure of his party and the larger political dynamics playing out as we speak. And he's concluding something that most Democrat strategists are still too terrified to say out loud. The Democrat Party is not going to win control of the Senate, possibly ever again in its current form.
Whoa.
Again, think about the structural political fundamentals here. 2.5 million deportations since January of 2025. 2.5 million.
It's a huge number because all of those people, they, in the future, most likely would have gone to, you know, if they were end up seeking citizenship or voting, being able to vote, they probably would have voted blue. So that's a huge hit to the Democrats.
Would be the equivalent of deporting the entire populations of Wyoming, Vermont, Alaska, and North Dakota combined. And we're seeing a 1.3 million net GOP voter registration gain over Democrats since November of 2024. And then there's the moolah, there's the money. GOP fundraising is it's already running 4 times that of the Democrats. And when you add Trump's own PAC and Elon Musk's promise of pumping in tens of millions of dollars, I mean, that's approaching upwards of 8, possibly even 10 times the Democrats' war chest. And then, of course, what we talked about in our first video today, the fallout from the Calais ruling from the Supreme Court, that's giving the GOP the green light to eliminate literally dozens of racially gerrymandered Democrat districts and turn them into solid red districts for the foreseeable future, which would guarantee Republican control of the House for the foreseeable future. So they're not getting control of the Senate anytime soon. And if the Republicans do what they need to be doing when it comes to these redistricting wars in the House, they won't be getting power back in the House anytime soon.
Whoa, so Republicans could hold a majority in the House, Senate, and the White House for another 2 years. That's really going to clean up our nation.
Well, I've had so many great teachers in my life, and I've needed a lot of help.
Yeah.
But the teachers' unions are telling these kids, don't come to school, actually come with us. They stick a sign in their hand about socialism. Meanwhile, the test scores are at the lowest level ever. How angry does that make you?
I want to be very clear. Every child should be in school, learning and getting an education. You know, it's like this is not the best for now. Absolutely, your kids should be in school. My kids were in school, and you know, you can have beliefs, but I really believe that education is the most important thing, and that's a value that we can't forget. And it's especially celebrating some of the worst ideas that ever visited humanity.
Why are Democrats running out of the briefing, colleagues? All right, Senator, you go to these classified briefings with your colleagues. Why are Democrats running out of the briefing and screaming that this is a forever war and it's only Wednesday?
Yeah, well, I mean, I just wanted to say that I watched like the highlights that you showed, especially the ship getting blown out of the water. Now, I remember the Iranian generals were saying that our ships were going to end at the bottom of the ocean, and that's theirs. Like, look at that again. It's on the screen right now. Boom. You know, like, I love it. You know, I mean, and so I don't know why we can't be on and just celebrate that. But I guarantee you, every single member of the Congress that you just had there said we can never allow Iran to acquire a nuclear bomb. And now that's happened now, and now it's made that impossible right now. And then we all agree. They all now say, well, we won't grieve, you know, that the Ayatollah is gone. So, you know, when someone did that and made sure that possible, why can't we as a Democrat just say, hey, I think that's a good thing. I think that the world's safer. I think it's more just. And then I do think we have a possible path for real, true, enduring peace in the region. You know, I will say that. I will acknowledge that, you know, because why they can't, because they've seen that too. And they all know that we can never allow them to have a nuclear bomb, and that it's better that he's been killed. But, you know, because as a Democrat, they're afraid to just agree with Trump on anything at this point. And now, hey, I'm going to agree with it. I'm always going to pick my country over my party, and I'm always going to acknowledge when good things happen. And now we've also forget, you know, that, you know, really the Democratic Party ever since 10/7 has been absolutely wrong about the dynamic in the Middle East now. Ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. Imagine if they were pushed into a ceasefire in the summer of 24. Hamas would still be intact. Hezbollah would be intact. And Iran could have acquired a nuclear weapon by that point. But Netanyahu was able to push through that, broke and destroyed Hamas. Same with Hezbollah, and was able to go after Iran and break them down. And then I was the only Democrat that supported President Trump striking the nuclear facilities last summer. And that made significant kinds of damage. Now, here we are, and now we have this regime we just witnessed after they massacred tens of thousands of their young people.
Whoa.
And that is a threat on our nation and our American interest in the region. Now, here we are. Now, someone did about it, and now I can celebrate that. And just, you know, when you see how effective that we've had, and now we've also discovered that Iran now just doesn't have a shot to even shoot at this point.
Yep. And
wow. So John Fetterman's really going against all of his Democratic colleagues and just sticking with his guns, sticking with his own personal beliefs. CNN is admitting that Americans are winning in the stock market thanks to President Trump. Take a listen.
It's a success story if you're in the White House right now, the stock market is, and you can see it right here. Okay, S&P 500 shifts at this point in a presidency. You know, coming into today at the close of yesterday, look at this, up 19%. That is higher than the average president since 2001, when it was up 15%, and way, way higher than the average presidency since 1961, up 6%. So this stock market has been up like a rocket, and no wonder the president of the United States wants to talk about it.
I mean, Donald Trump literally told us that this is a great time to buy, and that this is a great time to get rich, richer than ever before. And I don't know about you, but I did listen to President Trump, and my investment returns are up over $67,000. One of you guys messaged me that you were up over $13,000. Now, if you want to learn how to begin investing, we have a totally free offer with no commitment at all. You can click the link below, download the app, and follow the free tutorial that I created for you guys. I tell you all the stocks that I have, how to get them, and I break it down step by step and easy. If you're watching this on your TV, you can take out your cell phone, open up your camera app, and point it at this QR code and just download the app and the link. And again, it's totally free to get started. It's just my gift to you for being a watcher of my show.
The historian Larry Schweikert was just talking about this. The more the Democrats lose, the more radical they get. That's the cyclical pattern that you see in dying political movements. And I think this is exactly what John Fetterman is seeing. That's what he was talking about with Jesse Waters. As their membership dwindles, they only hold on to their most radical, rabid, diehard fringe. And that's what we're seeing with the Democrat primaries in Virginia and Maine and Texas. So the pattern is self-reinforcing. The crazier the base, the more people like John Fetterman leave. And the more people like John Fetterman leave, the more extreme the nominees become. The more extreme the nominees, the more voters flee. The more voters flee, the more the sane donors leave. And the more the sane donors leave, the more the party depends on its most radical small dollar fundraisers. And then the cycle repeats at a higher level of crazy each time. So all of this is to say that Fetterman's eventual abandoning of the Democrat Party, and that's going to happen. It's a matter of when, not if. He has no choice if he wants to stay in politics. His eventual departure from the party is guaranteed, and it is an admission that the Democrats have already moved towards the political periphery, the partisan fringe. The party that Fetterman ran for Senate under in 2022 no longer exists.
Whoa.
The party is broken. The funding is gone. The maps are increasingly turning red. The voters are leaving. And now one of their own senators is on Fox News calling them commies. John Fetterman isn't just a man in transition. He may be the canary in the coal mine, the first visible signal of a structural Democratic collapse that the fundamentals have been predicting for months now. So what do you guys think? Does Fetterman become a Republican or does he become an independent? Let me know in the comments section below. And as always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe.
I think he's going to stay a Democrat, actually. But that's just what I personally think. But I actually think that he's going to just be a level-headed Democrat. So let's now tune in to Benny Johnson on John Fetterman, my friends.
Don't listen to what people say in life. Watch what they do. And Democrats are panicking right now. It's plainly obvious that the midterms that they promised, their rabid, violent base that they were going to win because Trump's Satan and Hitler at the same time and the Antichrist, well, it's not actually working out that way. Virtually everybody says that Republicans are going to maintain control of the Senate, and now they may maintain the control of the House, that we've gotten rid of DEI congressional ghettos that Democrats have been able to draw for 60 years through lawsuits and abuse of the Voter Rights Act that was smacked down hard by the Supreme Court. And now it looks like Republicans will be up at least 11 seats. That's with moderate redistricting. If we go the full way, we could swing the House by nearly 30 seats if every single Republican state got on board. Things are so bad that Democrats are now calling for the head of the DNC to be axed. His name is Ken Martin. He's a complete goofball. He has also lied to the Democrat base, and everybody is saying he's got to go. He can't fundraise. There are tens of millions of dollars in debt. Democrat Party is broken. And is it about to break even more? Ladies and gentlemen, John Fetterman is a dude who, because he very tacitly supports Republicans here and there on little things and reaches across the aisle and goes on Fox News, he is being attacked and threatened, and people are trying to kill his kids over this. This is the absolute state of the Democrat Party. This is a man who is a Senate candidate, Raymond Chandler. He was arrested after leaving multiple voicemails threatening to kill John Fetterman's 13-year-old daughter, to slit her throat at their house. Physiognomy never lies. Look at how unhealthy these people are. Look how sick they truly are. And this is what John Fetterman has to deal with. And so you will obviously understand when John Fetterman says that the Democrat Party is a Marxist party, a communist takeover. They're trying to murder people. Socialist far-left mayors are destroying America, and John Fetterman might do something about it by switching parties. This, according to a brand new column in Politico, inside of the quiet Republican effort to flip John Fetterman, Pennsylvania Democrat increasingly is isolated within his own party. Republicans are trying to win him over. Republicans are offering to fund John Fetterman as a Republican running for office. President Trump is even calling John Fetterman and asking if he can switch parties, then he'll be safe forever. Political environment is curdling for Republicans. A quiet campaign to lure John Fetterman across the aisle is underway. Oh no. Trump has made the sell, offering his patented total and complete endorsement plus financial windfall to the Pennsylvanian. A handful of Senate Republicans are also gently feeling out Fetterman, responding to his concerns over the prospect of defecting from the Democrat Party, multiple high-level GOP officials tell me. If Fetterman does flip, according to officials who were given anonymity to talk about these sensitive matters, it will be thanks in large part to a deepening friendship with a pair of the senators. Dave McCormick, he's the other senator from Pennsylvania, and Katie Britt from Alabama. She's nice. Alabama senator. Plucky. Yeah, it's like nice senator. The first-term Democrat who has infuriated his party, hard line on immigration and staunch support for Israel, Trump nominees, and government funding bills. Most recently, the president's ballroom isn't yet persuaded. Fetterman says he's not ruling it out. Yet, at least in private, he's not totally rejecting dropping the Democrat behind his name. When one senior Republican recently brought up the idea of becoming an independent to Fetterman, he absorbed the suggestion and didn't outright reject it, according to GOP familiar with the conversation. In our interview, Fetterman said bluntly, "I'd be a shitty Republican." Okay. All right. What, ladies and gentlemen, will happen next? Oh, boy. Here's the internet talking about Fetterman joining the Republican Party. Trump has offered Fetterman his endorsement plus financial windfall to become a Republican. Democrats, of course, are trying to take out John Fetterman. They want Fetterman to lose. They are going to primary John Fetterman. There's already people running against him in Pennsylvania. What do you got to lose, dude? Fetterman says he's staying a Democrat, but hasn't completely ruled the idea out in private. Actually, that's a made-up quote. It got community noted. He hasn't exactly said he's staying a Democrat either. Fetterman told Politico on Friday. As I said before, people really need to stop trying to push Fetterman out of the party. He could make or break a majority in January. So Democrats are already freaking out about this. Fetterman is one of the few sane Democrats around, and I respect his willingness to call his party out. That doesn't mean he's a Republican. If Fetterman does moderate on some other social issues and actually starts voting with us, I would be fine with this. Republicans are saying, come on over, the waters are warm. Some people are saying he could certainly become an independent. We'll see. John Fetterman opens up about being the only Democrat in Congress to support Operation Epic Fury. It's the truth. Iran can't ever have a nuclear bomb. So what would this do? This would put Republicans at 54 and Democrats at 46, and that's including 2 votes that the Democrats have already stolen in Georgia. Those are supposed to be red seats. They've also stolen Senate elections in Arizona. Those are supposed to be red seats in those red states. Dark red states, Georgia and Arizona. In fact, Arizona was the swing state that Trump won the hardest by the largest percentage. So that would be 4 senators right there. Well, what does that do? That puts you close to filibuster-proof majority in the Senate if you actually had fair elections. Yikes. A lack of competitive races means that control of the House of Representatives will likely be determined by fewer than 10% of Americans, and the winners in the districts all but assured to be a single ballot cast. Well, this is libs already admitting that they're doomed in the midterms. Here's what Pennsylvania registration looked like last April. Democrats gained, but only modestly. Silver lining is that Democrats' voter registration edge shrank by 36,000 over the last 12 months. So Republicans gaining registrations in Pennsylvania. John Fetterman hanging out at MAGA bars. John Fetterman was spotted out at dinner at MAGA icon conservative hotspot in Washington known as Butterworth's. What left onlookers gobsmacked was that he was dining with Steve Bannon, goodness gracious, at Butterworth, and this is like a GOP hangout on Capitol Hill. Holy moly. John Fetterman angered left-wing protesters by waving an Israeli flag as he was leaving his office.
What do we want? Ceasefire! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Ceasefire! When do we want it? Now!
Great troll. All right. Fetterman, I don't understand why it's controversial to say we need a secure border. I want to provide an American dream for any migrant, but I think that's difficult when you have 300,000 people showing up at our border to do that. Agreed. Bill Maher. Fetterman tells Bill Maher that he didn't leave progressives. Progressives left me. Correct. The party's gotten wildly radical. This is my absolute favorite John Fetterman quote. John Fetterman says that Trump's cabinet appointment is God-tier trolling of the libs.
To own the libs in perpetuity is God-tier level trolling to just trigger a full-on China syndrome to own the libs in perpetuity.
Okay. All right. Based Mike Lee says John Fetterman has become based after getting mental health treatment on our program. John Fetterman will not condemn Charlie Kirk. John Fetterman refused to be talked down to on The View, and he doesn't want to be lectured by The View. Good sign. John Fetterman constantly has used his position to body check the Democrat Party. Says Greenland should be taken over by force. Announces his full support of Donald Trump releasing the UFO files. And was the lone Democrat to vote with Republicans on multiple circumstances. John Fetterman sold us out, says libs. And that's why he's dropped 100 points in favorability. 108 points in favorability, huh? Dude ran as a Democrat and then basically took office as a Republican. So why not just go the full way, right? John Fetterman talking about private meetings with Donald Trump. Well,
He thought you were somebody you're not. Why don't you come in the meeting? So it was me, Trump, you, and your wife. And the only thing I said to you is, this is off the record. I'm not going to tell anybody.
Yeah.
We can tell the story now because it was a long time ago. But
Well, I got so much shit for that.
oh,
I mean,
big time.
It's crazy.
Big
It's like,
time.
you know, like I was invited to have dinner. Like that should be, you know, that should be like, that's a good thing to have a good relationship with the president.
a lot of Democrats wouldn't think so. And here we go. Always pick country over party, says John Fetterman. The border was a disaster. Maybe he should run as a Republican. This is the message that Donald Trump had to John Fetterman that he wanted Sean Hannity to tell him. So, message received. What's going to happen next? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But this would be, you want to see a meltdown like unlike anything you've ever seen. This is how you do it, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see what happens.
Now, President Trump just came out to address the nation. Let's listen in.
The stock market has set a 51, think of this, 51 all-time record highs during the last 10 months. 51. You guys are big beneficiaries. You're setting the records, right? It's amazing. 51 times we've hit a new high. And in the history of our country, if you think about it, 51 times during the last 10 months.
And I don't know about you, but I did listen to President Trump, and my investment returns are up over $67,000. One of you guys messaged me that you were up over $13,000. Now, if you want to learn how to begin investing, we have a totally free offer with no commitment at all. You can click the link below, download the app, and follow the free tutorial that I created for you guys. I tell you all the stocks that I have, how to get them, and I break it down step by step and easy. If you're watching this on your TV, you can take out your cell phone, open up your camera app, and point it at this QR code and just download the app in the link. And again, it's totally free to get started. It's just my gift to you for being a watcher of my show.